Yeah, and I was thinking about like buying Bitcoin here. What are we at? Like 83K or something?
84.
84.5. So like I think on the last time we got together, that was a week ago, you were talking about sort of investing in maybe like three different tranches in terms of your timing. Like that's your DCA strategy essentially. And I've been pretty reluctant to buy stocks here, even though like I see some like compelling valuations on the mag four or something. But I'm still reluctant to sort of plow in to stocks even in the first tranche. But with Bitcoin, it seems like a reasonable time. I guess I'm looking forward to some of your chart analysis on Bitcoin to see if this is a reasonable time.
I mean, I think it is a reasonable time. I think we've looked at sort of like the 3-month chart before. It's a very simplified way of looking at Bitcoin. You don't have a lot of candles. It's obviously a bullish chart. And this quarter recently, we had this sort of sweep of last quarter's low, trade back inside the quarterly range. And typically, when you have these moves up and you leave these gaps, these imbalances, price likes to retest these gaps and it likes to attempt to make another high, at least attempt to make one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if nothing else, you typically get like a good long opportunity in these situations, not necessarily to new highs, but to some supply near that high at least. And if you kind of, pull up the lower time frame on Bitcoin, I mean, there is just a great deal of high time frame supply that has not been tapped into at all. I mean, this entire leg up here is sort of like your last point of supply for this like very high time frame distribution here. And it's just mega probable to me that you get along like maybe up into like 100K.
Yeah.
Like the way I currently have this thought out and what I've been kind of explaining to the guys in the Discord and this week's Magic Lines newsletter is that the easy trade for me is to these equal highs here, like 88.8K or something, 89K, call it. I think that's where we're going. Where are we going there from? I'm kind of betting on us retesting February's low right now. So that's at about like 78K, call it. So there's going to be probably some exogenous news shock at some point, right? Maybe we sweep those highs and that causes like a sell off, right? And then this is very scary. Obviously, price is dumping down here. But to me, this whole area here is it's like a giant demand zone. And I think anything that we buy in here, like probably ages pretty well, but like I'm hoping we run like these kind of lows we put in last week before the pump. These lows here around like 78.4 or so. Interesting level because it front ran the February low, it front ran the weekly open here, so there's like, and it front ran, like if you zoom in to the little pump we had on Wednesday, right? This is the little demand that caused the pump. And you can see that this area hasn't been tagged. So I just see a lot of technical reasons for us to kind of trade back in here. And I don't know if you can see it clearly, but you see the weekly open.
Yep.
So last week's open, this yellow line is your February low. You get all this confluence, right? And then you could also get some further confluence with just like a basic little, fib level. Cause there's your 0.618.
There it is.
There's your golden pocket. So all of this area here is like pretty magical to me. So I'm bidding in here, TLDR, and
Yeah.
I think it's probably a good play if people bid here. And I think if you don't have spot Bitcoin and you've been like waiting for an opportunity to buy spot Bitcoin, like I think you have to deploy honestly like most of your spot capital for Bitcoin here. Like maybe you can leave yourself a 20-30% cash reserve or something. There is a good chance we go lower.
So that would be like your second tranche of deployment, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have too much more spot to deploy. And I still am open to the idea that, we come up here and like kind of double top it and then come back down, retest this all-time high level. I'm I'm open to that idea, but it's like far down the road right now. Like as far as I can tell right now, like the path of least resistance for the next leg is probably up. And I think price wants to go back into this zone that caused the sell off from earlier this year. It probably wants to attempt to put in another all time high. But at the latest, like I think it does, excuse me, at the very least, I think it wants to go to these 89K highs, especially because that's basically, this is like February's range right here. So this is your February mid range, about 90K. So, February low, sweep the low, sweep it. Like all this failure to close outside of February's range makes sense to go to the mid range. So yeah, like target number one for me is these 89K highs en route to 90K or so. But I'm open to the idea that we go to all-time highs, like as well. I think there's too many like unanswered questions about like what Trump is going to tweet in the next few weeks for me to know this for certain, so I'm just kind of focused on the next target. But if you're able to buy 78 and take that trade to 89, that's a nice move, even if that ends up being all.
So you got me pretty convinced here, but like, here's the thing. I know I'm less of a trader. I'm like not a trader when it comes to Bitcoin, especially. I'm just like a hodler. So what has me a little more cautious is like, I don't think I would sell that 89K level like you're talking about. I don't think I would sell the 100K level. So then I'm really asking myself, like, when do I really want to enter sort of like my forever spot bag? And what has me really concerned is like, if we go into a real recession and like the stock market actually pukes, what I've seen time and time again is that like risk assets tend to be very correlated, particularly when assets are moving down. And I could see Bitcoin just getting nuked regardless of what's going on in macro.
Yeah, I mean, people say that. Also, it's had every opportunity in the world to nuke and hasn't. I think the other thing Bitcoin has going for it is gold. Like one of the interesting things about Bitcoin is that gold tends to lead movements of Bitcoin. And you'll frequently see periods like this, right? Where gold right here was mooning, Bitcoin's initially going down, but then gold starts to level off and then Bitcoin catches up, right? So I think there's a good chance that that's what's happening here. Gold is mooning, Bitcoin's trending down, but I think in the very near future, gold starts topping and then Bitcoin starts catching up.
Yeah, that would make sense too. It should be pretty correlated. Digital gold should be correlated to gold.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, like I think part of Bitcoin's value prop is gold, is digital gold. I think it has other value props, most of which, like, I don't think the market is fully digested, and that's sort of like an ongoing process. But I mean, Bitcoin is nice because it gives you multiple ways to win. Like I think if you buy equities here, you're betting on like a very specific parlay, right? You need all of these things to sort of pan out. You obviously need capital to stop flowing out of the stock market. You need like a resolution to this like trade war, and you need earnings to sort of not fall off a cliff. And then you're still buying at historically like pretty high valuations, right? It just doesn't look that attractive versus like Bitcoin is sort of like you're just betting on global chaos. You're betting on a global monetary reset. You're betting on, capital controls. Like there's all these things that can happen that juice the price of Bitcoin. And a lot of the same scenarios that make stocks go up also make Bitcoin go up. And then there's a lot of scenarios that make stocks go down, but Bitcoin still goes up. It's just a better thing to own right now for me.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree.
Glad you agree. So yeah, I guess the TLDR for the people in the audience is that the trade this week is probably short equities, long Bitcoin. Ideally, shorting equities, kind of closer to 55, 56. I do feel like that's probably the top. I'm definitely in the sell the rip camp, and I'm definitely like looking very intently at this kind of like 4,100 area And this is an interesting area because it's an interesting technical level. It's untapped demand. It's a key fib level. If you kind of draw your fibs out, there's your golden pocket right there. You've also got the PE multiples we talked about, right? This is probably about a 14. I don't know, somewhere in here is like 14 to 16, which seems like a very reasonable reset level.
That would be really juicy because we haven't seen a multiple that low in a long time.